Okay guys, so this video is going to show you how to graph a scatter plot and also calculate the line of regression. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and look at the graph first and then determine which type of regression I'm going to do. So let's go ahead and begin. So from the home screen, from a cleared calculator, we're going to scroll down all the way down to where we find a list of spreadsheets. We can create a new spreadsheet. Okay, and we're going to begin to put in our x values. Let's say that we have 4 points: 1, 2, 3, and 4. Notice how I'm down arrowing in between each input. And I can go up and now do the y values: 330, let's say 540, 648, and 672. Next, what I want to do is actually label what do these columns represent. So these are my x values, and then I'll scroll over and I'll label these as my y values. Okay. Now from here, what I want to do is I want to see what does the graph look like if I were to put it on a scatter plot. So I'm going to use documents instead of the scratch pad. Okay. So from this screen, I will press Control, that blue button, and then I will press Doc, which if you see the blue letters above that, it says add a page. And what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down to where number 5 shows that we're going to add a data and statistics page. And immediately you see the points just randomly spaced out that you plotted in that table. So we're going to soft mouse this, meaning we're going to click on this big square that you see in the middle of the calculator, but we're barely touching it, almost like soft mousing it all the way down to where it says click to add a variable, and then we'll press the like the center button of that big old keypad. Then we're going to press that center button again because we're labeling it as X, and then we're going to soft mouse again to the left, and we're going to label our Y axis to be Y. So we'll press, we input, we scroll down, and you can either from here press enter, or again you can press that center button on that big old square keypad, and you can just press inward. So I'm just going to press enter here. And you notice that it graphs immediately what these plots look like if you were to put them on an actual graph. So the instructions asked us to do a linear regression for this actual model. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to get that linear regression equation from this screen. So I'll press menu, I'll press 4 for analyze, I'll press 6 for regressions, and we're going to do number 1 because we're going to show the actual linear piece. So on this, if it asked us what was the linear regression, we would put 113.4x plus 264. Okay, let's say that it asked us to calculate the quadratic regression. Okay, so we're going to press menu, we're going to press 3, oh my mistake, not 3, no worries, we'll press escape to make that window go away, go down to analyze, so we can press 4, 6 again for regression, but this time we're going to do the quadratic regression. So you can press 4 or again scroll down and just press enter. So you'll see that the regression now changed, and if I soft mouse over and I press into that square keypad and hold down until it grabs it, I can actually move this so it's easier to read off to the side, and then again press inside the square keypad to release that equation. And you see that equation, if it was considered quadratic, would be negative 46.5x squared plus 34.9x plus 31.5. Okay, so again, that was negative 46.5x squared plus, I might have said this incorrectly, 345.9x plus 31.5. Okay, so the last thing that you need to know how to do is calculate the correlation coefficient, and we're talking about that R value. So what I'm going to do from this screen, you cannot calculate the R value from this screen. You have to use a different approach to calculate that R value. So I'm going to soft mouse all the way back up to my spreadsheet, and I'm going to press inward into the keypad. Okay. Now from here we can start our third blank column and I'm going to show you how to actually calculate both the line of regression, just a different way, but also calculating the R value. Okay, so from here we're going to press Menu, 4 for Statistics, 1 for Stat Calculations, and let's go ahead and scroll down to the linear one first so we can see what that looks like, and we'll press Enter. The X list, we're going to simply label it as X, and we're going to label this as Y. And again, the reason why we're putting X and Y here is because we labeled our columns X and Y. So whatever you label your columns, that's what you're going to label it right there. And then just scroll all the way down and then just press OK. And if you scroll to the right, you'll see it shows a linear regression, mx plus b. Scroll down, it actually shows you the equation. And now you can see these values, these m values. Let me show you. This m right here will be inputted here into the equation. Okay? This b value that they gave you of 264 will be put here. But here now, that's different is that we have an r value. We have an r squared value. Okay? So if I scroll down just a little bit more, you'll see it actually will calculate the r sometimes for me. And all it's doing is taking the square root of that 0.881 so that I get r is equal to 0.938 or 0.939 if you want to round to 3 decimal places. Okay, so that's how you do the linear regression. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back up, okay, and where I did my linear regression here at basically the column that's next after my input values of x and y, I'm going to now overwrite what I did by doing the quadratic regression. So here we go. Menu, we do 4 again. We do 1 for stat calculations. But this time, let's say we wanted to calculate the quadratic regression. Okay, the quadratic regression, we'd still have to label it as x and y. And then just scroll all the way down again and press OK. It says, do you want to overwrite the data in the current columns? We want to, so we'll just press OK. And now you'll see this quadratic regression is displaying instead of the linear. Okay, so the equation is ax squared plus bx plus c, and those values are what the calculator gave us here. So a would be the negative 46.5, b will be 345.9, and c will be 31.5. Okay, so if you put that into the equation, you're going to have the quadratic regression. Okay, so that's that. Let me scroll over by soft mousing to the second page. That's that one that we found here. See, this one already did it for us. It already displayed it to where we didn't have to input it where the variables belong. But we do need to get this page, and we do need to know how to calculate the quadratic regression also from the scatter plot, because this is the only place where you're going to be able to find the correlation coefficient, that r value. Okay, so going all the way down, you see I don't have an r value the way I did with the linear function. I have an r squared value only. So if I need to solve that by hand, all I need to do is take the square root of the answer that it gave me. Because if r squared is equal to this, all I'm going to simply do is take the square root of both sides, and I'll be able to get my r value of what it is. Okay, so what's a good way to do that? In my opinion, I think you should use short keys like hotkeys, the way you know with the like your computer or your keyboard. From here, I can simply press Control-C for copy, and then I'm going to create another page and then quickly just take the square root of that value. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a new page. I'm going to press Control, Doc, and this time I'm going to add a calculator page, so it's a blank calculator, so I can press 1 or Enter. And I'm going to take the square root, so Control, that x squared button that you see next to 4, and I'm going to take the square root of what I copied. So remember, I Control-C that r squared value. Now I'm going to Control-V to paste it. And then A good habit that I tell my students to get into is instead of just pressing enter, to press control enter, because it'll give you nice clean decimal numbers whenever they're needed. Otherwise, sometimes it gives you some weird looking fractions, but this is easier to find. And you see that this has a very strong R value because it is very close to 1. Okay? So in summary, if I scroll up to my first window that I created, it was my scatterplot list. Okay, so it's the spreadsheet. I inserted the X's, I inserted the Y's, I labeled the column X and Y, and then I came to the next column on the first line that was available, and from here is where I went through pressing menu for 1, and then I could decide which regression I wanted. And then from there, I could write out the linear regression or the quadratic regression equation, whatever it is, but I could also calculate the R value. So let's press escape to close all these windows. And further in summary, the second page was our calculator page that we inserted. And then our last page was the visual graph that we did. And again, to get this page, we did control, we did add a page, and then we went not to data and not to list and spreadsheet, we went to a data and statistics page. And that's what gave us the graph. Okay.